fill of offensive power and ended with Phillies smiles. Things get more interesting when the worst team in baseball arrives at Citizens Bank Park on a hot streak. The Phillies are down to 3 more series against the Miami Marlins this year. One of those series about to get underway in front of this crowd at Citizens Bank Park. It's Game 1 between the Phils and the Miami Marlins. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy along with Chris Wheeler. The Phillies and the Marlins meet for the 4th time this year. 10 games already in the books. The Phillies have won 6 of those 10. You know, we look at some of the numbers the Phillies have put up so far this year. I know that from a fan standpoint, you're sitting there thinking, man, can they score more runs? But the Marlins, they're in a totally different boat.
Yeah, well, it can get worse. And the Marlins are a team that has really struggled this year. Even though they have beaten the Phillies 4 times, they're a team you have to be careful of because they just swept the New York Mets at home before coming up here. 2 constants right there. When you score 4 or more runs, the tendency is to win. When you score 3 or less runs, you're probably going to lose the game. And these 2 teams do a lot of that. There are not good offensive teams. They struggle with it. Every once in a while they'll throw an offensive game together. But even yesterday when the Phillies finally scored some runs, there was a lot of drama around here.
There was a lot of drama. In fact, from a Marlins standpoint, their first 2 games of the month of June, they're hitting over 400 as a team. The Phillies hope they can quiet that tonight, and they hope that Kyle Kendrick can be doing the quieting.
Well, he's been very good against his team, Tom, over the years. 11-2 lifetime, including a very good outing against them earlier this season here at Citizens Bank Park. He pitched 7 very strong innings that night, and he fielded his position well. He had the cutter going, had his changeup, and had his sinker, and he has dominated this team over the last few years. Here's one of those plays he makes right there, and a ball hit right back at him. You see he makes a fine play. Later on he's going to do that again, but he mowed them down. He threw a lot of strikes, fielded his position well, and it's a team that he knows he can go out there and beat. Now, you just can't throw your glove out there and win the ball game, but Kyle Kendrick has pitched so well against him, he probably figures he has a good shot. Now, on the road and at home, drastic change in stats right here when you look at it. Home runs way up at 6 and only 1 on the road, and especially the opponent's batting average. But that doesn't mean he can't pitch a good game in this ballpark.
Absolutely. He has the 2nd longest active winning streak against one team, and it's come against those Miami Marlins. So it is the first game of this 3-game series between the Phils and the Marlins. Tom Kohler, the right-hander, will get the start for Miami. He's making his 5th start of the year. He's a hard thrower. We'll see what he has in store for the Phillies. He faced them earlier this year in a relief appearance. Well, about 3,000 Little Leaguers and their parents have been wandering around the warning track here at Citizens Bank Park, getting ready for tonight's ball game. And who knows, maybe the next Dominic Brown is in the mix there. Brown today named the National League Player of the Month, and rightfully so. Phillies.
Guys, also named the National League Player of the Week today as you take a look at his monthly numbers. 28 games, batted .303, had those 12 home runs and knocked in 25. Slugging percentage up there as well. What a terrific month it was. He becomes the first Phillies player in franchise history to be named back-to-back Player of the Week. And he also gets the first Player of the Month nod since Chase Utley got it, since Ryan Howard got it back in 2006. So what a month it was for Dominic Brown, guys.
It was a great month for Dominic Brown. Murphy gets a couple of watches, and he also gets a crystal trophy with his name engraved on it for being named the National League Player of the Month. Kyle Kendrick is ready to go. Juan Pierre is standing in for the Marlins. Pierre, a .225 hitter, a home run, and 6 runs batted in. He'll start things off for Miami. Kendrick's ready, and so is Pierre. And it's no balls and 1 strike to Juan Pierre. Kendrick, 11 starts so far, 5-3, an ERA of 3.27.
Have to watch out for a bunt with him. So Freddie Galvis going to play up at third base just in case, because he's about as good as they're in the game right now at bunting. Here's scouting report on Kyle. Great numbers against these guys, and that changeup sinker mix that he started last year has been pretty effective for him.
He does bunt toward first. Ryan Howard gets to it quickly, and the tag is made. Juan Pierre put a little too much on that bunt, so it made an easy play for Ryan. Time now for the rest of the starting lineup, brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Polanco was a late scratch for the Marlins. It's Dietrich hitting third, Ozuna fourth. Coughlin will bat fifth. Casey Kochman hits sixth. And then Echeverria, Brantley, and Kohler will round out the Marlins lineup. Polanco is dealing with the same issue that Jonathan Papelbon had yesterday. So he is out of the lineup today. Might miss tomorrow's game, too. So that means that the veteran, Ed Lucas, who's actually a rookie, but he's a veteran in professional baseball terms.
And he's an Ivy Leaguer from Dartmouth.
Yep. He's a 10-year minor leaguer, former 8th-round pick of the Kansas City Royals.
Boy, did he have a big weekend.
Takes inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. He's 5 for 8 since his major league debut. He's 3 games.
Yeah, they swept the Mets over the weekend. He was one of the reasons why.
1 ball, 1 strike the count to him. And he lines one the opposite way, a base hit. So he's now 6 for 9 in the big leagues. He gets a 1-out single. And that'll break Derek Dietrich to the plate. Well, the series in which the Marlins swept the New York Mets this past weekend, they put up some amazing offensive numbers, including a .408 average and 19 runs in the last 2 games alone.
Yeah, they come in here thinking they're not an anemic offense.
Derek Dietrich, 3 for 12 on the most recent homestand for the Marlins. Dietrich takes a strike.
This guy played all 3 games against the Phillies last time when they were down there. Hit third, played second. Here are those numbers Tom was just talking about. Look at the Mets earned run average. And 2 of those pitchers pitched great games against the Yankees for the Mets. What a turnaround that was.
Ground ball softly hit. Howard's going to think about second, instead goes to first. 3-1 on the putout. And there are 2 outs.
Talking to Charlie about that play last night that we kicked around so much in the 9th inning about whether he should have thrown to second or not. He said, well, yeah. He said, but if he threw to second, then I don't know that I'm walking Gomez because the base isn't open. It's interesting. He said, once the base opened up, he said it was a no-brainer. You're gonna do that and then deal with Maldonado. He said they would have looked at it a different way then if it was first and third, and then what are they going to do with Gomez? They try to pitch around him because it's not open and just walk him.
Yeah, that is interesting. I still would have walked him even if it was first and third, because Maldonado is such an inexperienced hitter.
Well, they were going to kick all that around. He said, but it was a lot easier the other way.
Marcell Ozuna smokes one right at Jimmy Rollins to end the first. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. On to the bottom of the first. The Marlins nothing, and the Phillies coming up for the first time. Phillies getting their first chance to face Tom Kohler, the hard-throwing right-hander here tonight. Jimmy Rollins, everybody was joking with Jimmy about that line drive that Marcell Ozuna hit at him. He hit it at him in a hurry. Watch this one more time. Look where he's set up. Obviously, this would have scored a run, but it kind of caught Jimmy Rollins.
He was a little bit screamed on that when it was coming out, I think, and he was like, "Whoa, I'm glad that caught me."
Let's take a look at the Phillies starting lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Leading it off is Ben Revere, then Cesar Hernandez. Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard are the next two. Dominic Brown bats fifth. Delman Young sixth. Eric Kratz hits seventh tonight. Freddie Galvis, the third baseman, bats eighth. Batting ninth and pitching, of course, is Kendrick, and they'll face Kohler, who's 0-3 with a 3.22 earned run average. He has pitched against the Phillies in relief this year.
2 games. And one of the games they hit him around a little bit. In fact, that was the game that Kyle Kendrick pitched here back on the 2nd of May. He gave up 3 earned runs in that game with 2 hits. But he has a big arm and a real good curveball, evidently. He's going to throw 56, last time 58% fastballs, 26 curves.
So Revere leads it off. Revere's 2 for 9 in the homestand. His average at 246. No home runs, 5 runs batted in. And he takes a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Revere's had a good year against the Marlins. He has 32 at bats. He's 10 for 32 against him. Hits that one off the end of the bat. Ozuna was playing shallow.
Well, it's time now for an Nissan Keys to tonight's game. Weather's cleared up. Nice night here at Citizens Bank Park for the start of this 3-game series with the Marlins. Well, KK, can he keep it up against the Fish? He just dominated these guys, and you just can't take them for granted. They just swept the Mets, and the Phillies have lost 4 games to this team this year. So when people say, you'll sweep these guys when they come in, no, it doesn't quite work that way.
Well, part of their success against the Phillies, and this is the case for a lot of teams, is that their earned run average for their starters is 1.69. Cesar Hernandez, the hitter, and he takes a curveball for strike 2. It's 0-2.
Seems like the Phillies never score in the first 3 innings on it. Hardly ever. I know, walk at her all the time, Sarge. We'll go get them. It's scoreless.
Hernandez fouls it away over the Marlins dugout. The Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Lorraine Powell of Cherry Hill. Phillies hit a home run in tonight's ball game, and Lorraine will win $100. That number has not risen over the last handful of games because of Dominic Brown. Swing and a miss at a breaking pitch, and 2 outs. And Jimmy Rollins is coming up. The current conditions, mid-70s, cloudy. It was raining for most of the late afternoon. So because of that, there was no batting practice out on the field. The Marlins took early BP, but no regular batting practice. Rollins' average is up to 266 with 4 home runs and 19 runs batted in. He's hit in 3 straight, and he's had no issues with the 3-hole in this lineup. Took a 92-mile-an-hour fastball just below the knees. Howard's on deck.
Kohler gave him a solid outing last time out, losing after pitching 8 innings, giving up 3 runs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts.
And Rollins walks on 4 pitches. His walk to strikeout ratio has been pretty good in the big leagues. It was pretty good in the minor leagues too.
Only 2 home run balls too, 1 right-hander, 1 left-hander, and against right-handed hitters, only hitting 188 off this guy.
Now Ryan Howard, whose average is at 253. 7 home runs, 27 runs batted in. He's only hit 1 home run in the last month or so. But he has 36 career home runs against the Miami Marlins franchise. They have 3 infielders on the right side. And The first pitch inside, 1-0. There's been a lot of that going on, pitching Ryan Howard inside. Check swing, foul ball. I think that would have been ball 2. But we'll never know. Throw over to first. Kochman's tag a little late. Kohler has spent 59 games at AAA for the Marlins. He's 24-19 at AAA with an earned run average of 4.38.
Quick feet. Ooh, look out on that move.
Good play by Kochman, who's just off the disabled list. He's a very good defensive first baseman.
Watch how quick his feet are. And then, as Tom said, a good play there by Kochman. Good swipe tag. If he didn't, he had him unless he missed that tag.
Inside, and it's 2-1.
That was a good curveball you just threw, and they both wanted that. Steve Brantley going to say something to the home plate umpire Reynolds. Respectfully. But basically, he's going to tell he wants to make him aware this is one of his good pitches. There's the crew chief John Hirschbeck and the way they're lined up tonight, that they need that pitch tonight because he's going to throw some hooks.
Yeah, this crew was in Pittsburgh yesterday for the Reds and the Pirates.
Yeah, they'll basically just say, a catcher will say to an umpire, he's going to throw them now. We need you to stay with it. We need you to hang with that pitch today, just to make them aware of it.
Inside, 3-1.
Great time to run. Although Jimmy Rollins has to be careful not to get picked off. He's shown an unbelievable quick move over there with his feet. But a great pitch to run, even though Ryan Howard has been swinging through a lot of pitches. They may throw a hook here, or he may get a fastball. He could drive it, maybe get a double, score a run.
Let's see what Rollins does. He does not go, and the pitch is inside. Back-to-back walks by Kohler. And that brings Dominic Brown to the plate with an opportunity to give the Phils an early lead.
Good job by Ryan Howard again to walk there and let Brown get up there.
Time now for our Geico quote of the day. And it comes from Charlie Manuel on Dominic Brown's hitting. Maybe I didn't expect him to hit like he has this quick, but I sit there and watch him day in and day out of practice, and the skill and talent is there. The more consistent he gets when we talk about hitting, the better he gets.
Here's a home run he hit in that slider in the first inning yesterday, down and in. He talked about it after the game with Murph that he was kind of cheating up on the plate, making them think, well, I don't know if we really want to go in there or not, and they did, and he got him.
Takes a breaking ball, and it's 0-1. Overall, he's hitting .282 with 16 home runs and 40 runs batted in. And just like last week when he was named Player of the Week, the first time he met with the media today, and he talked about a number of things, about whether he expected this, and he said, well, I've always had confidence in myself. And he was asked about the hype. He said, well, I don't have any cable, so I don't really know what the hype is. Fouls it away. It's 0-2. Howard's at first, Rollins at second.
From that big hook right there, way off the plate, though, and good discipline. Stay off it with 2 strikes.
7-game hitting streak with 7 or more home runs. Chuck Klein, Mike Schmidt, Chase Utley, Dominic Brown. Utley did it in 08. Swing and a miss, and he got him with a breaking ball. So the Phils threaten in this inning but do not score. They leave a couple thanks to back-to-back walks, couple strikeouts for Kohler as well. And we go to the second here at South Philly. Coming to the ballpark will receive the Carlos Ruiz Bobble figurine, compliments of Toyota. Wednesday's a Citizens Bank Business Person Special. Good seats still available for both of those ball games to wrap up this homestand. You can check out Phillies.com anytime, 24/7. Each team had a base runner in scoring position in their half of the first. We begin the second. Chris Coghlan, who's been red hot for the Marlins, leads it off. Coghlan lines one to right center field for a base hit. Revere cuts it off. Coghlan took a wide turn around first, but he'll still slide into second with a leadoff double.
Been waiting for Coghlan to pick it up again the way he did when he first came up to the major leagues. He's such a good looking hitter, and he's, Tom said, he's hot right now. He takes advantage of Revere's lack of throwing strength out there and gets his double right out of the box. He pulls it. He gets Revere going to his left, and now he knows he's going to have to spin. He doesn't throw very well, and he runs above average, so he can get a double out of that. And that's just getting out of the box.
He's 11 for his last 23. And his batting average now is over 300. Here's Casey Kochman, who just came off the disabled list today. He loves hitting at this ballpark. Takes it inside and low, 1-0.
He's a kid that used to follow him in high school. During spring training, we were down there. He was a phenom in the Pinellas Park area, south of Clearwater, and a very high draft pick. Never really hit with much power, though, and that's the thing that's kind of held him back a little bit at that position, first base.
Change up on the outside corner, 1-1. He's an excellent fielder. He only has 5 at-bats this year.
He blew a hamstring real early. Look how long it's taken him to come back from a hamstring.
Out of play, and it's 1-2.
Saw him here in an Angels uniform. Had good series. That's what Tom was mentioning. He's hit well in this ballpark.
He's 6 for 18 here at Citizens Bank Park with a couple of home runs.
With the Braves for a while.
Coghlan's on second. He extended his hitting streak to 10 games with a double. And the 1-2 to Kochman. Fouls it down the right field line. Joey Espada, the third base coach, is probably 10 feet away from the third base coach's box on an angle. A little bit more than that.
Yeah, he does that for a couple of reasons, but one is to read the shortstop or the second baseman coming in behind his runner. In this case, it's Rollins closer because they're playing Kochman to pull. Doing a nice job right now of guarding both sides of the plate and fouling stuff off because Kendrick's trying to get him out in and away.
Kochman was on the disabled list with a grade 2 hamstring strain. It's the same one that Carlos Ruiz has. And as we said, he was on the 60-day disabled list. And now time is called. Ground ball back to the middle. Cut off by Kendrick. Looks the runner back, and there's one away. For years, StubHub has been the place to find great Phillies tickets. And this season, you can get more with your tickets thanks to StubHub Fan Rewards. So get to StubHub and grab your seats today. Now here's Echeverria, the starting shortstop, hitting just 181.
Have to pay a little more attention to Coghlan now, and they'll use Hernandez with a right-handed hitter up. With one out, more likely to think about trying to steal third if you forget about him than with nobody out.
Echeverria had a career day the last time the Marlins were here at Citizens Bank Park. He has 14 runs batted in overall. Now that day against the Phillies, he had 7.
Yeah. Add half a season total. Grand slam and the 3-run triple. It's pretty much an opposite field hitter from what we've seen. And we know that Delman Young just plays deep in right field, and that's where he's going to play. But right now, on that offside of his and the way he hits the ball to right, you really like to come in a little bit with your right fielder. Have a chance to throw the guy out at the plate.
On the outside corner with a sinker, 2-1. Mentioned during the outset, Kendrick has won 9 straight against the Miami Marlins. It's the second longest active win streak against one team in the majors. Ground ball toward third. Big hop for Freddie Galvis. A peek back at Coghlan, and there are 2 outs. The longest streak is Roy Halladay and Andy Pettitte. They both have active 10-game win streaks. Halladay's won 10 straight against the Orioles, and Andy Pettitte has won 10 straight against the Kansas City Royals.
Here you go with the old 8-hole hitter up, base open, 2 outs, pitcher on deck. Say, don't get hurt here, but we don't want to walk him either and have them turn their lineup over.
Throws him a changeup to start him off, and it's 0-1. Take a look at the Mazda leaders, and with Kendrick winning 9 straight against the Marlins, it's lifted his overall win total to 11. R.A. Dickey doesn't have a whole lot of opportunities to face the Marlins again. 0-2 now to Brantley.
Did a good job with changeups there. The first couple pitches. First one a called strike. Now one out of the zone that he chased. Brantley struggling the last 6 games at a 130 clip. You don't have to throw him a strike. You have 2 strikes on him. Trying to get him to fish here anyway.
They try it again, and it works again. 3 straight changeups from Kendrick, and he gets his first strikeout. So he pushes aside the leadoff double by Coghlan, and he works a pretty easy top of the second. Love watching Open Challenge Saturday night at 6:30 and 10:30 only on Comcast Sportsnet. Rollins said he had a great time playing that day. He said it is challenging, and he, like everybody else, is looking forward to the U.S. Open being played at Marion. We'll be on the road when the tournament takes place, but of course we'll be watching from a distance.
That will be so much fun to watch, not necessarily for the pros. We hope, because it could be really tough if the weather will cooperate. Don't want a lot of rain.
Delvin Young will lead it off. Young 215, 4 home runs, 10 runs batted in. He did not play in yesterday's ball game. He was 1 for 8 in the series against the Brewers. And so far 3 for 14 on the homestand. And a strike on the inside corner, 0-1. Mention those numbers for the starting rotation for the Marlins against the Phillies. A 1.69 ERA. Phillies as a team are hitting .246 against the Marlins. Phillies pitchers have done an even better job against the Marlins offense. They're hitting only .208 against the Phils.
And they have one real big game against them. That game you're talking about with Echeverria when he had all those ribbies.
Yeah, that was the game where they picked up most of their extra base hits. They have 13 against the Phillies so far this year.
What they scored 14 in that 14 runs, I think 14-2 that day, something like that.
Just blew it wide open. Off the end of the bat, and that'll be out of play. They scored 5 in the first that day, 4 in the third. And they finished with 14 runs that Sunday afternoon against the Phillies. Swing and a miss. He threw him a slider. Yeah, that's the third strikeout for Kohler. And with one away, Eric Kratz is coming up. Eric Kratz hitting .229 with 6 home runs and 16 runs batted in. Chatting with him today before the ball game, I asked him if he had followed at all what's happened these last few days with Ed Lucas, the third baseman for the Miami Marlins. As everybody in Philadelphia knows, the story of Eric Kratz is that he spent a little more than 9 years in the minor leagues before he made it to the majors. Lucas spent a little more than 10 years in the minor leagues before he made it to the majors. And he said, you know what? I did search him last night to look at some of the stories. He said, I can certainly appreciate what he's gone through to make it to the big leagues.
You see a 4 RBI game or a 4-hit game from a guy whose name you don't know. You want to look it up right away and see, who is this guy? So I did that last night too, and found there he is from Grand Rapids, Michigan. That he's a Dartmouth guy, all Ivy League and that stuff, and played in the major leagues. Stay with him.
We got to talking about Eric's travels through the minor leagues, and he said, I think in hindsight, as he hits that one back toward the middle, and it's a base hit. He said, hindsight, it's all worked out well for him, Kratz, that is, because he has such an appreciation for being up here. And I'm sure Ed Lucas had the same thoughts, particularly with a Dartmouth degree, the same thoughts that Eric Kratz had during his minor league career, you know, to kind of give up the game and get on with your life. And Eric said that there were moments, but he said he loved the game so much that he just couldn't give it up.
I bet Lucas got a reality check when he got on the plane last night and got his meal money. Whoa, this is a little different.
Yeah, it is. Freddie Galvis 4 for 18 on the homestand so far. He's hit in 3 straight. And he takes one at the knees. It's 0-1. We forget about, you know, for some of these guys, how long it's taken them to get here. A guy that you and I both know, a good friend of mine, Dave Gallagher, who spent so many years in the minor leagues and then turned out to be a heck of a major league player. That ball's hit back toward the middle. Echeverria gobbles it up, and it's an easy double play. And the side is retired here in the second. No runs, 1 hit, nobody left. We'll go to the third here in Philadelphia. The Marlins and the Phillies scoreless. The fan section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. Who are the only 2 players in Major League history to lead both the National League and American League in stolen bases? The answer will be revealed in the 7th inning.
At least you didn't call that a layup.
Not really a layup, but it is interesting. We go to the top of the third. Tom Kohler will lead it off for the Marlins. It'll be Kohler, Juan Pierre, and Ed Lucas for the Marlins against Kyle Kendrick. And he just gave us both a big hug, and he's getting a chance to join us here. Ruben Amaro Jr.
I wondered who was hugging us.
I love you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on tonight. As Kohler leads it off. And he takes a strike. It's 0-1. All right, so how are things going from your perspective? Anything that you see that you've liked, whether it be from Cesar Hernandez, Dominic Brown, anything that's really jumped out from your standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, one of the beauties of having some of the injuries and some of the issues that we've had is is being able to see, take a look at some young players. I mean, obviously Dominic has had an extraordinary month, and hopefully he can keep it rolling. But it's great to see, guys like Cesar Hernandez get an opportunity to play, Freddie Galvis get an opportunity to play, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, we would rather have our guys be on the field. We had to have Chooch on the field and Chase on the field, but it's I think it's a good thing, and it's a good experience certainly for a guy like Cesar, who's had a very, very good year so far, and hopefully he can continue.
I'll tell you what, he is fast. I mean, it's one thing we had always heard. We looked at his numbers. We saw him a little bit in spring training, but he does run well.
It's funny. He's a guy that has some tools. I mean, he's got a very good arm. He's a good defender. He's made a couple of rookie kind of mistakes so far this year, but you kind of expect that from young players. But he's got some pop in his bat. Hit the ball off the wall, and he didn't really hit it that well, and he can swing the bat a little bit. So he's an interesting player, and we'll see. I mean, we don't go out of our way to tout our young players and our talent, but we have some players down below, and we're pleased. I mean, Cody Ashley's having a good year, and we finally got Darren Ruff a little bit more healthy, and hopefully we can get those guys chances to play in the big leagues if we have other issues that pop up here at the big leagues.
Talking about stuff down there, the draft's coming up this week. Yeah. Huge part of Major League Baseball, obviously, and this year a little better situated. Ruby, talk about that a little bit and what maybe the organization is trying to do.
I mean, clearly we don't want to be drafting this high, but this is the first time we've drafted in 16th and this high in quite some time. We've had a lot of success at the major league level, and so we've been drafting, 27, 28, 29, 30th because of our overall record. But, Marty's in here with his guys, Marty Wolliver, and, You know, I got to give a lot of credit, a little shout out to Marty, particularly on Dominic, because I mean, he was a 20th rounder. I think we spent a couple $100,000 on him, and he's a guy that you take a chance on late. And I mean, obviously he's starting to do some of the things that we had hoped Dominic Brown would be able to do as a big leaguer. So, but it's a crapshoot. It's one of the most difficult things to do, and it's also the most important thing. So hopefully we can get a very good player at 16. We're looking for bats as always, but on top of that, we're also looking for the best player we can possibly get. We just don't know how it's going to shake out ahead of us yet, but they'll start making the phone calls and getting a little bit better idea. We have about 3 or 4 or 5 players that we think that we've got lined up for 16th. And hopefully that guy falls to us.
How much are you involved in that, Ruben? Because you have so much going on with the day-to-day operation of the Major League and Minor League club. How much are you involved in that?
You know, the beauty of our organization is that I have guys like Pat Gillick. I mean, obviously Marty Walliver runs the show, but Pat Gillick's out there seeing players in the West Coast and bouncing around even to the Midwest and stuff. I have, you know, Marty has his guys out there, his national cross-checkers, Billy Moore and Leds. Mike Ledna. I mean, there's a whole slew of guys that are out there watching, evaluating, and they're here for a week, discussing, you know, trying to line things up properly so that we can get the right players at the right time. And it's a great process. It's really rather fascinating. And for me, I've gotten a chance to go out over the last couple of years and see a couple of players, but that's the job of those guys. I mean, you know, my job is to delegate. Certain things, and that's certainly one of them. It's nice to be able to see a couple of players, but certainly I think our guys do a very good job, especially considering some of the challenges that we've had. They've had late picks. I've traded away a lot of players for the talent that we've had on the field in the last several years. So it's a challenge. You know, I talk to Pat Gillick all the time about the importance of the draft, and there's nothing more important than bringing talent into the system.
You know, there goes Juan Pierre. Good job by Eric Kratz there.
Oh, it was ball 4.
Ball 4.
Oh, that looked like a pretty good pitch.
Well, yeah, it looked like a strikeout double play.
Well, the crowd just realized that they didn't call that a strike because it was a heck of a throw by Kratz. And Pierre would have been out. John Hirschbeck just looked back toward home plate and realized that Jim Reynolds did not call it a strike. Jimmy Rollins realized it late too.
The thing I was going to talk to you about, you use the term crapshoot. In this sport, to try and project a 17-year-old high school kid to a 21, 22-year-old man, because, you know, you don't get instant players in this game. There's so much repetition involved. How tough is that?
So different from any other sport. I mean, we're talking about when you're talking about the NFL draft, the NBA draft. I mean, it's really you have a much better idea of when they're coming out of college whether they're going to be, you know, quality NBA players or NFL players. With baseball, it is really, and the investment's not the greatest investment in the world, but it's an important one. You know, that's why we have so many minor league players. That's why we have so much patience with certain guys. It's the development of a player is so individual, so rare, and such a different type of a development than any other sport because of the level of the skill.
There's a base hit to right field. Pierre's rounding third, heading for home. He'll score easily, and the Marlins will take a 1-0 lead.
I guys always talk to you guys when
remember last time? No, that was David Montgomery that we had some offense. I was going to say, remember last time you scored some? They scored some runs. Somebody was on it. We scored some runs and didn't allow anything. If
they'd have called that a strike, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, Dietrich picks up his 11th RBI as Pierre crosses the plate. So 1-0 Marlins, and here comes Marcell Ozuna.
Now here's a great point we were just talking about. The Latin America end of it. You find a kid like this, they're 14, 15, 16 to try and sign, and then get a guy like this come to the major leagues.
Yeah, I mean it's very, very difficult. I do not envy that job because it's so difficult to project what a player will be, you know, by the actions he has as a 15 or 16-year-old. And you got to give a lot of credit to the guys that do this job because they're all over the country, whether it's, you know, internationally, whether it's in Dominican, whether it's you know, Venezuela, wherever it may be. We have our area guys here on the amateur side, trying to dig out players. And now there's not too many secrets in the amateur side because everybody's scanning the globe, so to speak. But it's very, very difficult, and it's as I said. I mean, it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest investment, but it's an investment that's very, very important for the well-being and of your ball club. Your backbone really of your ball club is always scouting player development, and hopefully we can get good players to continue to add to our system.
Yeah, kids like Hernandez and Galvis, those are both young kids when the Phillies signed them.
Absolutely, and Sal Agustinelli deserves a lot of credit for that.
That ball was smoked on one hop right past Galvis, and Ozuna drives in a second run. They're going to score that a base hit, I would assume. It is an RBI and a single for Marcell Ozuna, so it's 2-0 Marlins.
Yeah, that's hit pretty hard. He
Yeah,
tried to take it off the side.
Freddie doesn't come up with it. It's probably a pretty tough play.
That was on him in a hurry.
Think about the play he made yesterday in the first inning against the Brewers, how good that was. So Lucas scores, still 1 out. And now Chris Coghlan, who doubled his last time up to extend his hitting streak to 10 straight games. He'll bat with runners on first and second and 1 out. And time is called. Kendrick continues to come to the plate. Well, Ruben, we were talking before about some of the injured players. Carlos Ruiz hit today, and I know that there's still no real timetable for him. But it's nice to see he's progressing. Chase Utley's progressing also.
Yeah, they're all progressing. And again, there's the type of injuries that if you bring guys back too quickly, I mean, you really run a terrible risk of losing them for a long, long period of time. And that's something we absolutely can't afford to do. So we're going to be as conservative as we can with them. Chooch with the hamstring and Chase with the oblique. We're encouraged by their progress, but again. I don't envision these guys being back with us probably in the middle of this month. I would think sometime around the 15th to the 18th, something like that in that area. And they're going to have to go out there on rehabs because they haven't been playing. So they got to get their timing down, do some other things to make sure that they're ready to go.
That's a fair ball. Coghlan is retired by Howard. Runners on second and third. And then also progressing is Carlos Zambrano, who will pitch this week at Reading. His next step will be pitching in Double-A.
Yeah, Carlos actually threw much better his second time out with the Clearwater Club of the Threshers, and again we're trying to create a little bit of depth. We have the contract for Carlos is such that we have probably until July 1st to really make a real decision on whether or not he can help us here at the major league level. We'll assess how he handles his next outing. His next outing on Friday at Reading, and hopefully he creates a situation where we have to think about bringing him to the big leagues.
Off the hands, out towards center. Rollins is there, and the side is retired. Ruben, we appreciate it as always.
Absolutely.
And hopefully next time it'll be like a 5-spot for the Phils when you come on.
Yeah, I'm sick of doing that work right there.
Ruben Amaro, the general manager of the Phils, joining us here in the booth. Phillies down 2-0. As we go to the bottom of the third. It's good banking, and by Dodge. Visit Dodge.com or your local dealer today. Some of the young Phillies fans taking in possibly their first game. What else would you get but a Fanatic t-shirt? Well, hopefully that youngster is a good luck charm for the Phillies offense. Kyle Kenrick begins the third by taking a strike.
You're getting a little look at Kohler now. See fastball, curveball. He's also throwing occasional changeup, slider to right-handed hitters.
That ball's hit back toward the middle to his right, Dietrich. And one out now for the top of the order. So Ben Revere, who flat out to right in his first at bat, will come up for a second time. Boy, how big was that non-strike in that top of the third? I mean, it just changed the entire complexion of the inning.
Watch it on the replay. It was close. It's a 2-run play.
Kohler's walked 2. That was back in the first inning, and now Revere's ahead, 2 balls and no strikes. It's that hard. Kochman, though, was playing up on the grass, so he got a pretty true hop. And it was hit basically at him. And with 2 outs, here comes Cesar Hernandez. Well, Revere's hit a couple balls tonight. One was a flare to right, and that one was hit sharply to first, but nothing to show for it. So he's hitless at his first 2 ABs. Cesar Hernandez takes a strike. It's 0-1. Kid has pretty good curveball.
Yeah, he threw a changeup for a strike on the first pitch. Well, the reports on him are that his curveball is much more effective than it's ever been. It's because he's keeping it out of the fat part of the plate. It's got a little more tilt to it, evidently, and he can work the corners a little bit with it. And that kind of curveball with that kind of rotation is tough to hit.
Outside and high with a fastball.
A lot of timing involved in throwing that pitch and also hitting. Or you'd see more guys throw it.
Over to third, and Lucas throws out Cesar Hernandez. The Phillies go down in order, and that's 4 in a row retired by Kohler. We've played our first 3. We go to the 4th with the Marlins up 2.
Be back.
Uniform is dirty from a diving catch. WB Mason can handle any mess. For an all-star selection of cleaning supplies, go to WBMason.com. Place your order by 11:30 in the morning and receive your delivery that same day. 3 in the books. We head to the top of the 4th. Echeverria, Brantley, and Kohler to face Kyle Kendrick, who's allowed 2 runs so far on 5 hits. Echeverria grounded out to third his last time, so he's 0 for 1. Right back to the middle. Good play by Kendrick. What a way. Over the course of time, the best fielding pitchers have been, that I can recall, Jim Cott, Greg Maddux, Mark Burley, now of the Toronto Blue Jays. He could really field his position. But if you're going to throw the way Kyle Kendrick throws, you need to be prepared and you need to be an extra fielder.
Well, when he throws that ball down and away, he can look for that ball to come up the middle. Obviously, if it's inside, they'll pull it. That's what Greg Maddux used to do. Notorious for throwing that ball. Near the outside part of the plate. And when you do that, he was always in a good fielding position. That's why he has so many gold gloves.
Well, I remember talking to Jim Cott about that. You know, I asked him what was the reason he was so good on the mound. He said, well, if you ever watched me pitch, and I watched him toward the end of his career, he said I was always in the right position when I threw to the plate. He said some guys, it's just the way they throw. They're going to fall off to the left like Mike Adams or fall off to the right. He said, but for me, I was always ready, like I was playing third or first or one of those other positions.
Yeah, he was a guy, too, that would actually pitch you pretty quickly. I mean, he wouldn't waste a lot of time, get that sign and go right away.
There's Tom Kohler, 8 and 9 in this order for the Marlins. Have struck out 3 times. Kohler went down pretty easily his first time. He's 0 for 6 this season. And it's no balls and 1 strike.
Don't want to throw into his swing, which would be just about middle in. Good pitch. That's where you want to start that sinker too. Don't want to start it really any higher than that. Start it in that location and have it going down a little bit more. That's how you get your ground ball.
Rollins throws out Kohler. It's a 1-2-3 4th inning. Very easy inning for Kyle Kendrick as he cruises through the top of the 4th. Jimmy Rollins will lead it off when we come back for the Chevy dealer at ChevyDealer.com. By McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. Well, it's turned out to be a nice night. Rain for most of the late afternoon. No batting practice today outside. Let's take a look at the backside of the Art Museum. So far, Tom Kohler's allowed just one hit. He's walked a couple. Phillies, though, have not managed a whole lot against him. So Kohler will face Jimmy Rollins, who walked his first time up. And then Ryan Howard and Dominic Brown. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Michael Young arrived today, Murph, and he arrived with some good news.
Yeah, he certainly did. It is good news to see him back, Tom, and it's also very good news that he got as well. He had missed the last 5 games. Of course, the Phillies had placed him on the bereavement list. The reason being his 9-month-old son was taken to the hospital a couple of days ago. Michael immediately flew down there to be with him and with his wife and family to make sure that everything was okay. The good news is that his son has been released from the hospital. He is at home. He is doing much better. And Michael Young is back tonight. Not in the starting lineup, obviously, but he is available to play tonight. And as a result, Michael Martinez sent down to AAA. But certainly good news for Michael Young and the Young family, guys.
Yeah, we certainly hope that his youngster continues to progress and will continue to do better. There's some extra tests that still have to be run. But Michael found out about a half hour before the final game against the Boston Red Sox, and he said he doesn't even remember the game. And anybody who's a parent would easily empathize with what he must have been going through. He even homered in that ball game and said he doesn't really remember homering in that ball game either. Yeah,
well, first thing comes with the family for sure. Son or daughter, your wife there that gets ill, you got to go on and take off. That's when the game is definitely secondary. I'm sure everybody around would agree with that.
So he was happy to be back in the clubhouse, but certainly happier that his son was home and comfortable with his wife and his other kids. Ground ball foul. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Rollins.
This Kohler has a real good breaking ball and devastating fastball, but he started getting that curveball over consistently. Be a tough pitcher to hit.
Well, I think that's been the key tonight, Sarge. I mean, his fastball is good, as you mentioned, but his curveball has really been keeping the hitters off balance, at least through the first 3 and the 3rd. Is it safe to say that most pitchers nowadays come up throwing a slider instead of a curveball?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then when you see the good curveball, you go like, oh, my, where'd he learn that pitch from? And this one has tight break on it. Well, he starts getting it down and then even throwing it a little bit harder there. Tough to hit.
Howard lifts that to left. Juan Pierre over toward the line. There are 2 outs for Dominic Brown. Monday, June 17th, the Phillies will return home from this next road trip and take on the Washington Nationals in the 3-game series. Monday, it's a Hatfield Phillies Franks Dollar Dog Night. Tickets can be purchased for those 3 games by going to Phillies.com. All 3 games are at 7:05. The Nationals find themselves at 28 and 29. They're a game ahead of the Phillies in the East. They're under 500.
You know, we talk about sometimes and kind of dictating what the pitcher throws to you. Well, Dominic's been hitting so good as of late. They've gone to the off-speed pitch. Normally they were heating him up inside with that fastball. He's been getting around on that.
He pulls it toward right field. It's a base hit. The fastball is toward the outer part of the plate. And he still was able to pull it.
Yeah, not with 94, but there's the point I'm making. He forced him right there to throw him the pitch that he wanted. which is that fastball. And more importantly, he stayed right on it. On the outside part of the plate, not enough. Just look the way that he transferred his weight. That's what you're looking at, a complete hitter right now. He's come a long way, and he does have that confidence. You can tell every time he goes to the plate.
Delman Young struck out his first time. And he fires it foul. It's 0-1. By the way, that hit for Dominic Brown extends his hitting streak to 8 straight.
Well, those are kind of hitting streaks you like when you're doing some damage, getting some RBIs.
On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Yankees on a Mark Teixeira grand slam lead the Indians 4-1. That game's moved to the top of the 4th. Andy Pettitte on the mound for the Yankees. Masterson on the hill for the Indians. Ground ball back towards shortstop, and Echeverria is there. And an easy flip to Dietrich, and the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. 4 in the books. We go to the 5th. To play almost every position on the field. Plus, we'll break down Dominic Brown's incredible power surge. Watch a new episode of Phillies Clubhouse tonight at 11 right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Freddie Galvis has been manning third base for the last handful of days, while Michael Young has been on the bereavement and family leave. Juan Pierre leads it off. Pierre singled and scored his last time up, and he takes a pitch outside. Both pitchers with 7 ground ball outs so far.
Yeah, so far, Juan not hitting for a high average this year. He hits a lot higher than that 229. Though he gets paid for scoring runs, has 24. Leadoff guy, second hitter. They can score 100 runs.
Oh, he has 2 hits now tonight. Came in hitting .307 against the Phillies during his career, and he's 2 for 3 in this ball game. MLB.TV celebrates 11 years with new low yearly prices. Watch every out-of-market game live on over 350 supported mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV today. MLB.TV, baseball everywhere. Lucas has singled. He's also walked and scored. And he bunts over to third. Kendrick bare hands. You don't think one extra run is that important, but it is for these two teams. Neither team scores a whole lot of runs. So if you're Mike Redmond, you're thinking, all right, if I can get one more and take a 3-0 lead over the Phillies and Charlie Emanuel, that may be a pretty large margin going into the back of this game.
Yeah, well, that's why he's getting all those high fives going into the dugout. You're absolutely right about that and getting him over. I thought they might give him a chance, though, to steal a base. Kratz is out right on the mound and say, hey, don't forget, Juan Pierre's out there looking to try and steal third base. Keep an eye on it.
Well, now Dietrich, he had an RBI single in the third. He drove in the first of 2 for the Marlins. Pierre's getting a good secondary lead. That's why Kendrick just turned back towards second.
Very important that he gives the catcher Eric Kratz a chance to throw the runner out. You do that by making sure that runner doesn't get a great jump.
A little low, and it's 2-1. Not a bad spot. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Pirates are shutting out the Braves 1-0. Pretty good likeness of those two.
Yeah.
Here at the ballpark in the concourse, they have areas where you can get your picture drawn, your caricature. And now 3-1.
Have you had that done?
I had that done, not here,
okay.
But I had it done down at the boardwalk a few different times. Head's still big, Sarge. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, well, it's only drawing the picture, Tom. I've had it done a couple times myself here at the ballpark.
Ground ball right side. Hernandez scoops it up. Pierre goes over to third, and there are 2 outs.
It's a good pitch. He didn't give in to him at all. That was a ball he actually swung at. Looked to be a changeup. Learning how to pitch. Usually that would be a fastball. Take a look. Look at the movement on it as it goes away. Tried to pull that. That's what you're going to get, a ground ball.
So Pierre leads off third. Here's Ozuna. How careful do you have to be with this guy right here?
Well, I'm surprised he doesn't have more home runs than just the one. But again, that's how you judge young players on not so much his stats, his setup, how he's hitting the ball. He's hit the ball extremely hard first 2 times up. If Kyle can make that pitch, it'll make it difficult for him to go all the way to the outside to hit that ball. But he's been crushing the ball that's been middle in.
Outside, and it's 1-1.
I think sooner or later he'll move a little bit closer to the plate. Kind of force them to either come way in. See right there, he can't handle that pitch. It's too far away. You know, and even if he were to hit it from that particular stance and that location, it's not going to be hit with a lot of authority.
So that's why here you don't throw him a changeup, you throw him something on the outside part of the plate, right?
Well, either that, like slider, or you just make sure, though, that you're not trying to go middle in there with him. So he's been very careful in keeping it out there because he's already showed you what he can do if you throw that ball middle in. He may get away with it if it's up and in, but make sure it's off the plate. Don't think he wants to go in there for a strike on the inside part of the plate.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Marcell Ozuna. 2 outs here in the top of the 5th. And now time is called. Kratz is going to go out and talk to Kendrick. Ozuna on the most recent homestand for the Marlins was 8 for 19 with 5 runs batted in. He had a 16-game hitting streak that ended on Saturday, and then he came back yesterday and had 3 more hits.
Yeah, that's a big ballpark he plays in. But this kid's been hitting that ball, just hitting a lot of line drives and hard ground balls.
Outside, 3-2.
And that's what you do. You get him to leaning, and then, you know, you think you can get inside. But that's why I'd like for him, if I was a hitting coach, to make sure he's a little closer. Therefore, he doesn't have to lean.
Fly ball to left field. Brown back toward the track. He has room, and he makes the catch. And the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left over at third. We've played 4.5. Erik Kratz will lead it off for the Phillies when we return. Mets. It's a 4:05 start, and it's a Modell Sporting Goods Kids Run the Bases after the game. That's for fans 14 and under. What are your tickets now? Get them at Phillies.com. See the big video board. They're doing different camera shots around the ballpark as Erik Kratz leads it off here in the bottom of the 5th. Everyone always knows where the camera is. So
yep.
Kratz singled his first time up. So he's 2 for 2 now against Kohler. And he whacks that foul past Ryan Sandberg. The youngster's going to be all smiles for the rest of the night.
And with a high five.
outside, 2-1.
Whether or not he'll get another fastball to his liking, this is the count that you'd like to be able to sit on.
In the air to left field. Toward the end of the bat, Pierre back to the track, toward the wall. It is gone! Just over the small fence into the flower bed. Home run number 7. It's now a 2-1 ball game.
I'll tell you, he's a pretty good pitch out of the ballpark. That wasn't a curveball. That was a slider that he hit. Been having problems of hitting that pitch. Take a look at it as he slows that bat down a little bit, making solid contact. I think he might have thought he hit it out of the ballpark. Not by a whole lot, but hey, that's all it counts. Just a little, as long as it goes out.
John Hirschbeck went out to make sure he had a good look at it, and he signaled home run. So Lorraine Powell of Cherry Hill, you've just won $100 thanks to Eric Kratz in the McDonald's home run jackpot. I think that tells you or shows you how strong Eric Kratz is, because he didn't, I don't think anyway, the way it sounded, the way it looked, I don't think he hit it on the meat part of the bat.
Well, it didn't appear. But what I like about it is that he stayed on it a lot more as opposed to pulling off. He used to come off that ball there and he would actually either miss it or maybe hit a little ground ball, but he stayed right with it. That's one of the things he has been working on.
It's his 4th home run in his last 8 games. Galvis did not think that was a strike. It's 1-2.
I think before it's all said and done, you'll see him starting to hit some balls out there to right field a little bit more consistently. And once he starts to do that, look out.
I don't know if you heard the conversation before. We were talking about Kratz being in the minors for so long, and Lucas, the third baseman, being in the minor leagues so long. Eric said that he never thought it would take him that long, just as I'm sure Lucas didn't think it would take him that long to get up to the big leagues. He said, but timing is everything. As Galvis hustles up the first base line and is thrown out. He said because there were years where he probably could have, Kratz that is, could have been in the major leagues because he was close enough, but he didn't have a good year. And then the next year, when there wasn't space for him, he would have a good year. You know, he said that there's so much about it that he thinks back about now that makes it such an amazing path.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You have players there that, you know, are playing well or maybe a star in the position that you're in. Hard to get there.
Kendrick hits one toward the alleyway in left center field. That's going to go all the way to the wall. Just to the left of the 409 sign. He's thinking 3. The throw was overthrown over the cutoff man, and Kendrick slides in safely. He's got a triple. And he thought 3 bases as soon as he left the box. Look at that, Sophia.
Oh, boy.
That's your daddy running around the bases.
Yeah, daddy's out of breath, too. As he goes down. First triple of his career there. Take a look at it now. This is a line drive. He'll be getting points on that. And you're right, Tom, as he runs right from home plate for this triple. That play right in front of him, as you can see, not even looking at the third base coach, Ryan Sandberg. Sandberg telling him to get down, and that's what he does and stays down.
There's his dad, Maury.
Yeah, well, Maury knows that he could hit. He's been hitting all his whole life anyway. He's wondering why he hadn't been hitting up here.
Oh, boy. Here's Revere, who takes outside. It's 1-0.
Good situation for a fly ball here. I don't know if they'd be going on contact. I don't know if you want your pitcher sliding into home plate. You know, Ben, I've seen him hit a few ground balls this year.
Opposite way, base hit it to left field. That'll tie the ball game up. Kendrick crosses the plate easily, an RBI for Revere. It's turned out to be a very productive bottom of the 5th.
Well, this on a ground ball, but stays right with it. Infield in, and shoots it right through shortstop. Kyle Kendrick can just walk in now. And this is what you like, where Your pitcher gets that rally going for you. Now he can sit down, get himself a little water, and might want to change that uniform.
I was thinking that too. He may have to go in and put a different jersey top on.
Gotta like that. Can't throw it hard enough in this league. Yeah, pitchers do that. They'll throw each other fastballs. They look for it, not always hitting it, boy, but squared it up, gives you an indication of how fast the outfield is here. Going all the way to the wall.
Hernandez is 0 for 2. He's struck out. He's also grounded to the third. Revere does not have a big lead over at first. I wonder if they'll try to put him in motion here.
Well, I think you ought to go on and try and let him still it. But again, the curveball is what you want to still on. There's something off speed. So if you're guessing the run, you want to try and run on one of those pitches. You know, my young hitter coming up, I don't want to just try and have him hit and run. I mean, it's tough enough for him. I don't mind him sacrificing and so on. But with a fast runner on for me, I'd like to see them try and steal a base. He gets a good jump. Won't matter what that pitch is. He should be able to steal the base. I like the way they've battled back to tie this game up so far. Miami Marlins. This guy's been playing pretty good. Let's face it. I mean, doesn't matter a lot of times the place you're in. Teams that come in that are hot, you want to cool them off, especially in your ballpark.
There he goes. Pitch is taken outside. The throw to second. Not in time. Off the glove of Echeverria. And then it trickles away from Dietrich. Revere goes to third. It's a stolen base for Revere and an error. And we'll see what the error is charged to.
Well, one of the things that he does, and he does it very well, is he has a little cut right over the eye there. Don't know if he got that from the helmet and sliding just over the left eye. You see Scott Sheridan coming out. Take a look. Yeah, that helmet does kind of looks like goes up near the face area. There it is again. He's keeping his eye on the ball. Very aggressive base running. Putting more pressure on the Marlins. Here he is again. Boy, he's sliding, but putting that head all the way down. Maybe trying to get out of the way of those spikes. After that, it's almost like the Keystone Cops trying to corral that ball.
Well, the Phillies got the aggressive base running from Kendrick to stretch a double into a triple. He scores on the base hit by Revere. He may not have because the ball was hit toward the hole. He may have had to wait if he was on second. Now Revere is on. He steals second, goes to third thanks to the error. And as they stop the bleeding, at least for the moment, he gets a nice round of applause. And it gives Hernandez a chance to drive in the go-ahead run.
Well, this is what you want here. Don't know whether or not you're going to see a sacrifice bunt or squeeze bunt, maybe. I'd let him hit for me in this situation.
That's because you're a hitter.
Well, so is Charlie. You know, and I say hit too. I mean, he's ahead in the count, 2 balls and 1 a strike. Shorten it up, make contact. And this is a situation I think Ben will go on contact if it's hit.
Well, he broke as soon as the ball was hit.
Well, that really does put pressure too on the fielders. They got to catch it, come up with a clean throw with a fast runner. It's hit in the outfield. Got to make sure the ball in the air. That runner gets back to tag up.
Ground ball toward first. Kochman has it, bobbles, and his only play is to tag out Hernandez as Revere scores to give the Phillies the lead.
There's that pressure I'm talking about. Knows he's going all the way. Trying to get rid of a quick throw there. Kochman not able to do it after he bobbled a little bit. No chance to get Ben Revere. Take a look at him as he's coming down there. He's going to hit it just in case. Kochman actually booting that ball. Going on contact. Takes one little peek there and hits it. Would have been bang bang too, even if he had caught it cleanly, I thought.
Rollins fouls the first pitch from Kohler back.
Here it is. Now take a look as he bobbles it. Hits him right on the heel of the glove. Once he hits it up in the air like that, you want to throw. Too late. You can get a slow runner, but not a fast one.
Well, that RBI for Hernandez, his first major league RBI.
Yeah, I'll trade that ground ball for an RBI any day of the week.
Particularly when it gives you the lead.
Exactly. This guy here throws the curveball so hard with that tight break. Want to make sure that it starts up high in the zone. If it starts down by the knees, more than likely it's going to break out of the zone.
Cesar Hernandez checked off a number of firsts this week. Rollins down on strikes, and that'll do it for the bottom of the 5th inning. But the Phillies put 3 runs up. After the home run by Kratz, Kyle Kendrick wanted 3, and he picked up his first major league triple. After he scored, Revere swipes second and then goes to third on an error and then scores on the ground out to give the Phillies a 1-run lead. Improving and impressing as the season moves through spring towards summer. Dominic Brown entered the season with question marks, and he is beginning to answer at the plate with production. Already at double digits in home runs, the left fielder's power swing is just heating up. Connecting for a .348 average and driving in 7 RBIs last week earned him Player of the Week honors in the National League. Dom Brown is swinging for success, and it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Changing the game. Dom has a base hit tonight. Phillies lead it 3-2. Chris Coghlan leads it off for the Marlins. Coughlin's 1 for 2. Coghlan is hitting .450 in his last 10 games. During that time, he has 6 extra base hits. To put that into perspective, his previous 78 games, he was hitting .179 with 9 extra base hits.
Wow. Well, that's turning it around and do it in good fashion like that. Well, during the course of the season, just about every player, except for maybe a few, are going to go into a slump. It's that player that can figure it out and get out of that slump. That's what it's all about. Well, Dominic Brown's not going to continue to hit the way that he has, but he's been squaring them up low, high, almost daring that pitcher to come inside. Pretty good feeling as a hitter.
On the hands, out towards short. Rollins backhands, has to hurry. 1 out.
Wow. Ball had a lot of spin on it as he handled that ball with no problem. Luxury, though, to be able to throw the ball high and have a first baseman as tall as Ryan Howard to be able to corral those balls in without jumping up off the base.
First baseman, Casey Kutchner.
Okay, there's some war paint for you.
That's from the head first slide.
From the head first slide. He's able to change that uniform. Got the game pants still on, however.
You think anybody reminded him that next time slide feet first?
Now, you know, they're telling him to get there the best way he can.
Little low, 1 ball, 1 strike to Casey Kotchman.
But I mean, everybody does it. I mean, let's face it, going head first, you just take a chance on so many things happening injury wise, and especially with your fingers. Jamming it on the bag. They're stepping on your finger.
1 ball, 1 strike now to Kotchman. Ground ball to second. Hernandez backhands. Celebrate Sundays with a special ticket pack. Choose any 3 remaining Sunday home games, Sarge. Most are packed with great giveaways and promotions. Each ticket comes with a $13 concession and merchandise credit for the price of $10. For more information, call 215-463-1000 or visit Phillies.com for more details. You can also call that same number for ticket information for any game, including the next 2 against the Marlins. You want to be here tomorrow because it's the Carlos Ruiz bobble figurine.
That's a good one. Definitely. There's Carlos. Saw him out doing a little jogging or running today, trying to get back.
Now the 1-0 pitch to Echeverria. Out towards center field. Revere on the run and reaches up at the last moment and makes the catch. Now, with everything that's been said about Revere's routes to balls, he got a good jump and he tracked that down rather comfortably out toward the warning track.
Yep, I'd say that he did that exactly well. Take a look at it. He had the right angle on the ball, and he does catch that as he outruns it. There's that speed again for you, Tom. Take a look at it. Soft hands as he catches that ball. That's the way the center fielder should do it.
You test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. By Thomas Jefferson University Hospitals. Call 1-800-JEFF now for an appointment. And by WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. So he's up by one as we go to the bottom of the sixth. Ryan Howard to lead it off against Tom Kohler. Bullpen action behind him in the Marlins pen.
Shouldn't be late on that first pitch fastball. That's his bread and butter pitch. Well, and they're trying to force him. They get ahead of him, and then they start throwing him balls that are very difficult to hit.
Like that.
Like that one was right. And the other reason I feel he starts open and the ball looks like it's a strike. That ball there, for me, would be a ball. But he never gets back squared up to the plate. If he was a square and then to take that step, I think he would notice that that ball is too far in. He does most of his damage when that ball is out over the plate. But more importantly, being able to get on that fastball when they throw it. That's what he's been behind on. Sure, he wanted to throw that outside fastball. Actually, was that he wants to throw another breaking ball. See what he does.
He does throw him another breaking ball, and it's smoked out toward the alley in left center field. Howard's going to get an extra base hit. $14 doubles for Howard this season.
Well, after he shook off, this is what he threw him. Not a bad pitch. The difference, ball out over the plate. Howard swinging at it. Ball was down. Take a look at his swing right there. Ball not inside. But look how he transferred the weight. That's a good swing. Head down right on the pitch. Doesn't always do that swing. That's the one he should model what he's trying to do. That swing.
Up the first base line, that'll roll foul. Well, you have the right guy up there right now to try to pull and get Howard to third and possibly get a little bit more in Dominic Brown.
Yeah. Like to let him have his shot up to 2 strikes, and then now you're just trying to hit the ball hard. This is when you really got to concentrate. Look for that pitch that you can actually pull over, and that pitch would be a middle in pitch, or maybe anything soft to Wade. Geared for the fastball.
Ryan Webb is the right-hander throwing in the pen.
What you like about him, when the ball's inside now, he's not doing all that jumping back as if, you know, the ball's going to hit him. Still being able to kind of look at that ball in there. Got some nice numbers that he's rolling up there now. 284, 16 and 40. 16 home runs, that is. That's how you end up getting those 40 RBIs, though, by those home runs. Wow. Almost as if he was sitting on that pitch there, but I tell you, when you're going good and the ball looks like a basketball coming up there, you have slowed everything down for yourself. It almost doesn't matter how hard they throw it. You seem to just have a good look at the ball.
Inside, 2-2. In the air to right field. That's well hit. Ozuna's going back. It is gone. He's homered again. Dominic Brown, a 2-run shot to right, and the Phillies lead it 5-2.
Wow. Well,
you're speechless.
I got to tell you, I mean, I said it a while back, come on bandwagon for that All-Star. You keep putting up those numbers right there. I don't know any time you can leave off the leader for home runs there. Take a look at this stroke. And this is after fouling off some pitches. He gets a high ball up in the zone. And watch when he gets ready to run. He's getting ready to just flip the bat. That's what those home runners do. Oh, boy, I'm telling you right now. There's that little, I don't know what they have going on now. 8 pitch at bat. Now there's that little, I don't know, Babe Ruth hat. Everybody has their own little style. And you can tell they're starting to go around a little wider now. That's how you kind of make those turns as well. Boy, what a ball. What a blast. As he hits that ball out.
2-run home run. Kohlers to the showers. It's at AT&T. Ball in the bullpen. Chance to enjoy, because you just don't see this kind of productivity that often in this game. I mean, this homestand in 6 games, he has 6 home runs. He's hitting .545 with 12 runs batted in. Every time you wonder, well, you know, maybe the home runs aren't going to come the way they came, let's say, last week. All of a sudden, he sits back and he rocks it again.
Yeah. Really, really great to see. Just look at the swing. I tell you, the ball, look where his eyes goes, right toward the sweet spot of the bat. But when you see him like that, it's just a feeling where the ball is just so large, it's impossible for you to miss the ball.
Delman Young takes low. It's 1-0. Well, for that home run and the one hit by Kratz, and each one hit this year, one tree will be planted by the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society as part of Home Runs for Trees, a partnership between the Phillies, PHS, and Aramark. Home Runs for Trees is part of Plant 1 Million. For more information, visit phillies.com/red goes green.
You can imagine having one other player in that lineup just half as hot. I mean, you really got something. That's when you're able. Oh,
there you go. That one's hit well, and it is not coming back. It's gone. Delman Young goes back to back with Dominic Brown. 5th home run of the year. It's now a 6-2 Phillies lead.
Boy, oh boy. Well, they talk about it being contagious. Dominic has hit enough home runs for them all to be a little bit sick, if you will. Take a look at this swing here. Going to be a hanger for you. He banged it all right. There it goes. Boy, they sound loud, too, when you're here at the ballpark. And you know that they're going. Dominic's hot. Look at that right now. That's what you want to see. Those kind of smiles when they're going out of the ballpark. He hit enough of them. They'll be coming up with some kind of little gyration or something. Couldn't get away with that back in the day, however. But, hey, today's game, they like doing it, so enjoy the ride.
Well, it's the 6th time this year the Phillies have gone back-to-back in home runs. Kohler goes 5+, allows 7 hits and 5 runs. And now Webb, who doesn't allow a lot of home runs, just allowed a solo shot to give the Phillies a 4-run lead. And there's still nobody out.
It's got to make him feel good. Finally pulling one with some authority and getting it out of here. Stayed on it. Just like I was saying, you need a couple of guys to get hot like that. Then it can be happy days all over again. Kyle Kendrick enjoying those runs right now. He had a little bit to do with it himself, by the way.
Yeah, I would think what he did helped loosen guys up a little bit too.
Well,
because they were laughing, you know, they were up on the bench.
A lot easier to play when you're relaxed.
On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Jason Hayward's hit a 2-run home run. The Braves now lead the Pirates 6-1 in a game where Clint Hurdle was ejected earlier. Pirates had a 1-0 lead in that ball game. Kratz is down on strikes, and there is one away here in the 6th.
Well, not a very good swing. Know what he was looking for. Obviously not that one. I'll tell you, boy, those runs will put a smile on your face, huh? Everybody's face.
Galvis hits one toward the alley in right center field. That's going to split the gap, and it's going to go to the base of the scoreboard. Galvis is on his way to third. Ozuna slipped a little bit when he picked it up. The ball is dropped by the cutoff man. It's the 2nd triple of the night for the Phillies. That's 6 extra base hits for the Phillies.
Right in the gap, too, for Galvis. Tell you what, once he starts moving, he gets it going too. He was in a little bit of a slump, starting to get on top of the ball. See that right there as he drives the ball there, no doubt about it, as he splits there, right center. That's to make sure, nice little pop-up slide. Pop-up slides are fun because you know you got them when you go in there.
Marlins played the infield in with Kendrick up, who became the 4th Phillies pitcher to triple here at Citizens Bank Park. Cole Hamels, the last one in 2011. Vicente Padilla, of all people, tripled here at Citizens Bank Park, and Robinson Tejeda also tripled at this ballpark. Vicente Padilla.
The outfielders
Well,
fall down.
He was a switch hitter, Vicente Padilla. I remember when he used to come up, right-handed or left-handed. You ask Larry Bowa about it. Larry goes, I don't know. I never knew which way he was going up there.
Oh boy. Boy, this would be a huge run if you could get it. Already they've done a terrific job scoring runs.
Dominic Brown, the first Phillies player to hit 9 home runs in 10 games since Bobby Abreu back in 2005.
And there haven't been cheap ones either.
Over to shortstop, the runner's coming home. Echeverria was late with his release, and Galvis slides in safely. I think the ball ran up his glove a little bit.
Yeah, he bobbled it a little bit. That's one of the reasons, too, that you go on contact. You know, usually anybody but that pitcher for a pretty quick runner. He's an above-average runner, Gavin. How about this slide here? He almost threw him a changeup. He never had the grip of the ball when he threw that ball. Take a look at it. See, couldn't grip it, kind of bobbled it, and then he threw him a changeup. Okay, here we go again. Another run. We got some smiles. Dominic Brown leading the charge. Okay, the way he's hitting now, Dominic Brown, he's actually following those pitches off. He's getting it in a particular zone, whether or not it's down or whether or not it's up, and putting a good swing on it, not fouling that ball back.
And Revere scalds one to right. He has 2 hits.
Wow.
Now let's face it, if they can do any semblance of this as this season moves on, I mean, they're hitting some balls hard today.
Yeah. I mean, they're squaring the ball up, calling for some reinforcements. When you're hitting the ball like that, I mean, you don't want to be left behind. You want to make sure you have yourself a couple of hits. Haven't seen Ben pull a ball like that in a long time, but he got through that ball. He drove in for an RBI, hit that one hard.
Tom Kohler started this ball game. He went 5+. He was lifted in this game after the 2-run home run by Dominic Brown. He's charged with 5 runs, 4 earned.
It's no secret. Marlins are coming in here sky high. End up playing the way they did at home and winning those 3 games against the Mets, and then you're coming in here, you're hoping to get off to that good start. And this is what it's all about. When somebody comes into your house like this is what you have to do.
0-2 is lifted towards center. Coghlan goes back. Kendricks tagging. Coghlan has it. Kendricks' throw to third is not in time. Feet first.
He's playing some good old-fashioned baseball, let me tell you. Tagging up, running for 3. I bet when you talk to his dad tomorrow and ask him about, have you ever seen a hit like this? He's going to tell you, yeah. That's good baseball action as he turns the right way even. Don't want to look at it as much as he did. Well, he stayed down, a little hesitation on the slide. There it goes. Well, we're looking for results. See, and that's when you don't want to do the pop-up slide that I had talked about. That slide you want to stay down. As you can see, he's actually got a little amusement for some of his starting friends. Those are points, by the way, that he's picking up, Tom. Going from base to base.
And Revere stayed at first instead of going to second as that throw was going to third.
Well, he might have been halfway. I didn't see.
That's what he was. 2 outs for Rollins. Runners on first and third. 7-2, Phil's on top.
They start scoring runs like this. I mean, everybody seems to be having pretty good at bats. Playing excellent defense. Don't think he'll be swinging 3-0 now. We'll see.
First time they've scored 7 or more runs in back-to-back games since the 9th and 10th of April. It's also the 9th was the last time they had a game with 6 extra base hits. Revere goes. The pitch is taken for a strike. No throw. And Revere gets his 2nd stolen base of the evening.
Now J-Ro just let him have that base. And just taking all the way. It's a 3-1 breaking pitch. See whether or not he feels that same way with Howard on deck. Just normally when you get that fastball with a good hitter hitting behind you.
The 39th pitch of the inning. Inside, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. The Phillies have batted around. Howard will hit for the 2nd time. 2nd time Rollins has walked in this game.
You don't usually see that. Yeah, it looks like Howard's not going to get a chance to hit against. Not going to hit against that lefty that's warming up.
Mike Redden will make a double switch. He's out to home plate to talk to Jim Reynolds. He has his lineup card. So they'll bring in Olmos. The left-hander who's been loosening up to face the left-hander Ryan Howard. Greg Dobbs will come into play first, and we'll be back after this. Dugan is the player of the month. In 26 games, he had .314 with 5 home runs. That was nice to see, and 7 doubles. And Yoel Macias in 6 games for the Blue Claws was 3-1 with an ERA of 1.50, 37 strikeouts in 30 innings of work for Macias. So congratulations to those two guys. Boy, Kelly Dugan looks so different than when we had him up in the booth a few years ago. Remember how long his hair was? Looked like a California surfer. Phillies have the bases loaded with 2 outs here in the home 6th. And they're up 7-2 over the Marlins. Greg Dobbs talking to Rollins and Ben Revere and Juan Samuel as Edgar Olmos, who's making his major league debut, finishes his warm-up tosses out on the hill for the Marlins. Kendricks at third, Revere's at second, and Rollins is around at first. And Ryan Howard, who doubled to start the inning and scored one of the 4 runs, is at the plate. 7 runs in the last 2 innings for the Phillies.
Came right at him, 97. Shook off to get to that pitch. See what Ryan's done with the bases loaded. Easier to look fastball and adjust on some of the other pitches as opposed to looking for that breaking ball and catching up to 97. That just doesn't add up.
Howard pulls it toward the right side, and Dietrich throws him out, and that'll do it for the 6th inning. And what a 6th inning it was. 4-run score for the Phillies in the bottom of the 6th inning. It was nearly a half hour in length. Kohler started it. Webb was in the middle, and then almost got the last out. The Phillies went yard a couple different times. They lead it by 5 as we go to the 7th.
Well, time for your local Honda dealer's game summary. This one started out quietly for the Phillies, and they got real loud in the 5th and 6th inning, including that bat around in the 6th. Dominic Brown just so hot. 9 home runs his last 10 games. Kyle Kendrick, really a solid outing here tonight, and his triple kind of ignited their offense back there in that 5th inning. That got everybody going. You see they had a couple quick runs, did the Marlins tonight, and Tom Kohler is pitching very well and then ran into a buzzsaw, and he's long gone.
Phillies were very aggressive offensively. It was nice to see they were aggressive on the base paths. Rob Brantley leads it off here in the 7th for the Marlins. He takes a strike. It's 0-1. Brantley has struck out twice. As part of the double switch, Dobbs is in the on-deck circle. Center field, Revere on the run, and he'll get there. With one out, Greg Dobbs is coming up. It's time for the Major League Notebook.
All right, T-Mac, thank you very much. Brought to you by Gwinnett Mercy College. And there was a trade in Major League Baseball today with the Braves sending third baseman Juan Francisco to the Brewers for a left-handed pitching prospect named Tom Keeling. Keeling will report to Double-A for Atlanta. They expect maybe that Francisco will play first base for the Brewers. To get this, guys, a baseball glove believed to be used by Jackie Robinson in the 1955 and 1956 World Series, sold today in auction for $373,000 and $373,000 and $2. So $373,000 and $2. It's not even the record for gloves being sold in an auction, but the best part is that all the money that was raised today from the Steiner Sports auction is going for Hurricane Sandy relief for both New York and New Jersey. So that is a lot of money raised for New York and New Jersey. Certainly a good cause, guys.
It's a great item, too. It's a great keepsake for any collector to have any kind of link to Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things about Jackie in that movie 42 coming out. I think just got another whole generation or more people involved in understanding what he stood for, what he did, and how great he was for our game.
Dobbs grounds one toward first, backhanded by Howard. 2 outs. I think so many people that saw that movie said it was such a history lesson. You know, they knew a lot of the story, but there were a lot of things that were filled in that they may not have known.
Yeah, there are so many things that movie didn't cover that people would get their curiosity stirred up, you know, where they can go read about him and understand the things that he did. It served a great purpose. I haven't seen it yet. Did you?
I have not seen it.
I just read so many reviews on it and heard from people who have seen it. I can't wait to sit down and enjoy that sometime, because what a tremendous man.
Juan Pierre's the hitter. He's 2 for 3, and he takes strike 1. Pierre scored a run in the 3rd. The Marlins scored both runs in their half of the 3rd to take a 2-0 lead. Boy, this is going to be an easy inning for Kyle Kendrick. He had an 8-pitch 4th inning, and this one's going to wind up being a 7-pitch 7th inning. 1, 2, 3 go the Marlins. Ground ball outs. Well, he's had a lot of them, 13 in all through 7. All right, Wheels, here's the question one more time. Who are the only 2 players in Major League history to lead both the National League and American League in steals?
Juan Pierre, and I need a hint.
Juan Pierre is correct. That's the first one. And the other one did it for the Tigers in the American League. But I'm not going to tell you who he did it for in the National League.
I think I know since you told me the Tigers.
Should I have given you the National League one?
Expos? Did he do it for the Expos?
He did it for the Expos.
Left fielder, boy, could he run. Ron LaFleur.
Was he a left fielder or center fielder?
Left fielder. He couldn't throw at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, he played left field. He was not a very good outfielder, but he could really run.
Amazing story about Ron LaFleur, who spent time incarcerated before his Major League career. It was LeVar Burton who played him in the movie. They made a movie about Ron LaFleur's life.
You know, he could have played center with the Tigers. All I know is in the National League he played left field.
I think he played center with the Tigers.
Yeah.
Dominic Brown leads off the 7th for the Phillies. He's 2 for 3 with a home run. And he's behind 0-2.
Here's Dominic Brown. Looked like he had a changeup, something off speed, out over the plate. And that thing went deep into the seats in right field. And he just stays really hot. He had a heck of an at bat, too. Fouled off a bunch of pitches. They tried to come inside on him. He took pitches, fouled them off, and hit the 9th pitch of the at bat for the home run. That's a real good at bat. There was something off speed away from him.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Brown. Go back and look at what Dominic Brown has done through the month of May and the beginning here of June here. You think back to where he was on the 23rd of April. He was hitting .206 at that point. He's got 3 hits tonight, counting that one that jumps in front of Marcell Ozuna.
He could hardly hit a ball to the right of second base in April. He wouldn't pull the ball, basically. I've never seen it. You know, you always say, I've never seen anything. This is one of those things. I've never seen anything like this dramatic a change in a player. You know, they'll come along gradually, but to turn it on like this and to turn it on with this kind of power is ridiculous.
Well, think about it. You know, 206 on the 23rd of April. Now, this is a kid who played every day and still has played every day. His average now after that base hit is at 291.
Think how many balls he hit hard up until that point. Not that many.
Delman Young down the right field line.
It wasn't like you're watching him play and thought, well, he's close. You know, he may go on a little tear and do some things and do some that. None of that was there. And then, just remarkable.
This might be 2. Echeverria got a comfortable hop. So a 6-4-3 double play. And there are 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th. Tonight's lucky Citizen 7 are right in front of us, right there. They'll lead you to a prize pack courtesy of Citizens Bank. Citizens Bank with the most 7-day branches in the Philadelphia area. To find a branch near you, visit citizensbank.com. Eric Kratz is 2 for 3 tonight. He homered back in the 5th. That got the scoring started for the Phillies. A couple batters later, Kyle Kendrick tripled for the first time in his career.
Had everything going, didn't it? Just then they started to go on contact, run the bases, errors out there. It just seemed like that just lit everything up. And all of a sudden they took the lead and then they poured it on. But that triple he got, that Kendrick got, was really huge. He's running the bases tonight like he could be a pinch runner. Oh, wait a minute. not do that again. He has really been an athlete out there. They had 2 contact plays tonight that show you why you go on contact. If the play isn't made perfectly, you steal runs. And on the one to Kochman, just a little bobble, maybe makes it anyway. The one to Short, little bobble, score on that one. And that's why you do that play.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Kratz. And he fouls it back.
Runners holding on those plays, they're outs. And the guys still stand at third base. So, contact play, you don't do it all the time, but when you do it and it works, it looks great. When you don't, the guy's thrown out by 30 feet, and then you hear the boos.
Out toward right field. And Ozuna over toward the line. Kratz is retired, so are the Phils. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left. We've completed 7. On to the 8th. By the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most innovative lineup ever. Shop at choosenissan.com. John Mayberry takes over in right field for Delman Young. Yeah, that is the only change, so Mayberry will bat 6th. Kyle Kenrich still out there as we start the 8th. No reason not to be out there. He had an 8-pitch 4th inning and a 7-pitch 7th inning. That's really helped his pitch count.
Yeah, maybe Adams is available tonight. Probably is because he had the night off. Charlie was talking about it before the game. He thought he would be, but he wanted to check. And then Papelbon, they were going to wait and see, but hopefully they don't even have to find out.
Papelbon was not only throwing out in the outfield, but he was also running around. So the hope is that he was strong enough if they needed him to have him out there.
Walked in from the garage with him today, and he said he felt a lot better tonight. Probably could go if they needed him.
Ed Lucas is 1 for 1. Walk at his sacrifice to go along with his first inning single. And he lines one to left. Dominic Brown is there.
Time for a Hyundai defensive play of the game. And Ben Revere's had some game here tonight. At home plate on the bases. And this is a nice play ahead of run. Ran a really good route for this. Towards left center field. And made the play up over his head a little bit. Good job there by Ben. And that is our Hyundai defensive play of the game. Brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
Dietrich hits one out towards center, and Revere gets another chance. Well, he's actually rolling with a little confidence because he got turned around, had his back to the infield at one point, and kept his eye off the ball, then turned and found the ball. He was up there a pretty good ways.
And that's why he was able to do that. Kyle Kendrick getting some quick outs here. See right here, he gets turned around a little bit, and you don't ever want that to happen, because if the ball's not hit real high, then you're not going to find it in time, and you can't catch it. But it was hit plenty high. That's why you watch outfielders drift. They'll go from one side to the other, or they will run to a spot. Hard to believe Kendrick isn't even at 90 pitches right now with 2 outs in the 8th inning. The way that one tough inning that he had in the third inning, his count was going up pretty fast then. A lot of first pitch strikes here tonight. That little strawberry on his elbow from that belly whomper at third. Kind of on both arms. Well, he did the belly whomper with both arms. Winning feet first is next time.
Part of the reason his pitch count is where it is that he had an 8-pitch 4th inning, a 7-pitch 7th inning, and he's had an 8-pitch or 7-pitch 8th inning here.
Well, we've seen the Marlins a lot this year, and they're not patient. They do swing.
There's the 1-2 to Ozuna. Swing and a miss. He got him. Threw him a changeup toward the outside part of the plate. While the Phils offense has found its stroke, Kendrick also has found a groove. He's retired 12 straight as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Figurine, compliments of Toyota. It's free to all fans. There are tickets still available for that ball game. Go to Phillies.com or stop by the box office at some point tomorrow leading up to the game. It's a great giveaway. Bobble figurines, bobbleheads, they're always something to be had. And there you see some of the many bobbleheads and figurines the Phillies have given out over the years. They'll give out a bobble figurine or bobblehead to the 1 millionth fan tomorrow, counting all the ones they've given out going back to, let's say, 2001. Tomorrow will be the 1 millionth. Carlos will have the honor.
And as they look on with some smiles, you see Dan Jennings coming into the game, a left-hander, just 3 2/3 innings, 4 hits. Walking 3 strikeouts, and Kyle Kendrick with that low pitch count is in the on-deck circle to go out and finish this baby off.
Why not? There he is, dirty uniform and all.
Looks like a position player with that uni.
Looks like he's playing an American Legion game.
Yep, he had to go change his shirt, though.
Galvis hits it to center field. And Coghlan is out there. So Jennings gets the first out. Coming up on Sports Night, highlights of this ball game, plus analysis and reaction, plus a week until the U.S. Open comes to our area. Neil Hartman has an update on Marion. Jimmy Malibu Sports Night after postgame live only on Comcast Sportsnet. Now, have you played Marion?
Oh, yeah, a bunch. Not a bunch. I'd say 3 or 4 times. Been lucky enough to be there.
Great place to play.
Oh, what a thrill.
Maury's had a thrill tonight. Maury Kendrick to watch his son pitch and hit. Murph, you've played Marion. Haven't you played Marion before during your amateur golfing career? I know you've played a lot of places, Murph. Have you played there? Have you played Marion?
I have not played Marion, although I would love to.
Murph, it's an experience you'll never forget.
I am sure. Marion wouldn't forget it either if they let me in there.
Well, he wouldn't be the worst that ever played there.
Hey guys, I know we weren't asking the booth tonight, brought to you by Toyota, but I got a really good one. So I am going to ask the booth tonight. This coming from AT PHI. Are they going to name a forest after Don Brown? Plant 1 tree per home run?
That's a great question.
They might have to.
They may have to. There's no doubt about that. I mean, considering where he was at the end of April, where he is right now, MB Hahn will at least there'll at least be an acre of trees thanks to Dominic Brown.
Amazing.
That was a program started a couple of years ago where 1 tree is planted for each home run hit by a Phillies player. At the end of the season, those trees are planted around the Philadelphia area. And Dominic Brown is, well, he has refurbished a neighborhood with what he's done since the 1st of May. 1 ball, 1 strike to Ben Revere, who's had probably his best game in a Phillies uniform, if you count the offense and the defense.
He is the player tonight that the Phillies really hoped they were getting during the offseason, offensively and defensively. Really uses speed too in that 1 pivotal inning.
Swing and a miss and a breaking ball. The Phillies go down in order in their half of the 8th. So that means as we go to the top of the 9th inning, Kyle Kendrick will get himself ready to try to pitch a complete game with the Phillies leading the Marlins by 5. Winning box score, and the Phillies up until the 5th inning were not winning, but they are leading it now 7-2 as we go to the 9th. And look at all the guys that contributed, and go down to Kyle Kendrick, 1 for 4, triple RBI runs scored. He and Eric Kratz started the rally, and then everybody else kind of took over, and Dominic Brown again threw everybody up on top of his shoulders at one point.
Yeah, it was Eric had started with a home run, and then Kyle Kendrick hit that triple to center field, and you could just feel there was a little bit of life down there all of a sudden, especially when he went belly whomping into third. And heck, that ball was almost thrown into the dugout where he could have scored. It just hit the screen in the front, came back.
Coughlin hooks one foul down the right field line. It's 0-1.
They kept bringing the infield in that inning, did the Marlins, and The Phillies kept cashing in.
One ball, one strike. Right back to Kendrick. Ground balls have certainly been the order of the day for him this evening. That's 14 ground ball outs. That ties a career high. That means the sinker and the changeup, and that's really all he's thrown tonight. Would you agree?
Yeah, right. You know, he'll mix in cutters once in a while, but yeah, sinker changeup. That's the thing that's changed him. There's his last complete game. Tom was against the Mets. That was a really good game that he pitched, obviously, and he also helps himself so much by the way he fields his position, because when you throw the sinker changeup like that, you're going to get some action.
We were talking about that before. We were discussing Jim Cotton, Greg Maddux, and Mark Burley, guys that put themselves in good position. Justin Ruggiano pinch hits and hits it foul.
Well, they sink the pitchers you just named, sinkers and changeups, a lot of that sort of stuff. So the ball's going to come back at you.
Ruggiano is hitting for the pitcher. This is the pitcher's spot thanks to the double switch earlier. Outside, 1-1. Every time the Phillies pitchers retire the opposition, 1-2-3. Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports, giving you all your favorite sports all year long.
Ruggiano's a guy who's really good numbers against the Phillies over the last year and a half.
He had a little bit of a hand issue last week, so he said that he really couldn't swing the bat, so they sat him down, and Coughlin basically took over in center field. So.
Yeah, Coughlin's taken off too offensively.
Yeah, he may have lost his job.
Yeah, this guy has power. That's some line right there.
Sure
97 pitches with one out in the ninth. That's a guy playing for hitters to put the ball in play and get through an inning as fast as you can. Strikeouts, we say that all the time. You know, they look good, they're fun, but they will run up a pitch count on it for a pitcher. Where you get it done like Kendrick is tonight with a lot of these early ground balls. Here he is in the ninth, breezing. I better not say that.
Remember yesterday?
Not in Phillies games.
Not this year, at least.
No, that's premature.
Cliff Lee yesterday had a 7-0 lead. We thought maybe he was cramping up a little bit. It was hot, and that's what was happening.
I thought he was out of gas, and it turned out he was cramping.
1-2 pitch to Ruggiano, and a breaking ball, and a called strike three. My gosh, that looked like a curveball. I think it was a curveball. He doesn't have a curveball.
Larry Anderson didn't have a changeup in that playoff game to Ron Gann either, and he threw it to him.
That's a curveball.
It is a curveball. Well, we'll find out about that later. Where did that come from and why?
77 miles an hour. Remember what Ryan Matson used to say? I always throw it once in a while to put it in the
scouting report. Yeah, have the scouts write it down.
Now Echeverria is the hitter, and he lays off the first pitch. It's 1-0.
But Matson would throw curveballs. He would throw them. Kyle Kenrick, you said he doesn't have a curveball. Well, yes, he does, and he has a triple.
1 ball, no strikes to Echeverria. Everybody on their feet. And that's a strike of the knees.
Well, he dominates this team year after year, and he's doing it again here tonight. He's going to go 12-2 against them.
Trying to win his 10th straight against the Marlins.
It's one of those things when they look in the box score and he has a tough game, they say, somebody's hitting him. Dad's happy.
His dad's trying to get a picture of the final out.
Hey, sees a CG here.
Two-one pitch coming at Echeverria. So Kendrick needs one more strike. This is the way it should sound here.
Yeah. Remember this a lot of times.
2-2 the count to Echeverria. And now the pitch from Kendrick. Down the way, 3-2. Brantley's on deck. And this crowd of 35,000 plus. On their feet. The 3-2 pitch. Ground ball towards shortstop. Rollins to his right. He's got it. Throws to first in time. And Kyle Kendrick has won 10 in a row against the Miami Marlins as he picks up his second complete game of the year. And the Phillies win it 7-2.
14 in a row he sets down there at the end. That is really impressive.
Well, this is the kind of night that I guess any pitcher would dream of. You do a whole lot on the mound, you do a little bit at the plate, and then you rely on your teammates to help pick up the rest. And that is exactly what happened tonight as the Phillies down 2-0 scored 7 unanswered runs in the 5th and 6th. Started by Kratz, ignited by Kendrick, and then blown open by Dominic Brown. Ben Revere had a nice night offensively and defensively tonight for the Phillies. That can't go under the radar.
Well, Kendrick had that one shaky inning back in the 3rd inning, and he got out of it with just 2. And after that, he basically coasted. Yeah, you know, one other shot they had in the 5th inning, maybe get a run off him. But after that point, he just had a really, really good time out here. Chevrolet player of the game, who else could it be but Kyle Kendrick with 9 strong innings, just a little over 100 pitches. Did a real good job fielding his position as always. A ton of ground balls. Retired 14 in a row with that fastball change-up mix that has become so successful for him. And he even mixes in a curveball for some reason in the 9th inning. Got a strikeout on Justin Ruggiano. There it is right there. Here's the final out of the game. A little 3-2 sinker. Jimmy Rollins fires over to first, and a CG for Kyle Kendrick. And just for good measure, he shoots a triple into the gap in left center field early in the game. Here he comes. He almost started swimming there between 2nd and 3rd, but he makes it. Bruised up both of his elbows, but he's our Chevrolet player of the game, and he got to be a tired guy down there with you, Murph.
Yeah, he did just about everything tonight, that's for sure. Let's talk about pitching first. 15 ground ball outs for you tonight, which is a new career high for you, and that is a certain indication that things are working for you.
Yeah, it was good. You know, Kratzy, got to give credit to Kratzy. Called a good game again. You know, tonight really got ahead early. You know, the changeup was pretty good, and just pounded the strike zone, and you know, that's why my pitch count was down and was able to finish it.
All right, but now let's talk a little bit about the offense as well, because I know you guys take a lot of pride in that. I just teased you. I said we're showing your highlights. We got to wait for you to get all the way around to 3rd before we come down here. But that's pretty cool for you, I would imagine.
No, it was fun. That was awesome. You know, my dad's here, so we got to see that. It was special. And when I hit 2nd, it felt like forever to get to 3rd. But it was nice. It was fun. It was a great game.
I knew your father was here. He was taking a picture, actually, of that final out, and it has to be pretty great. Always great to complete a game the way you just did tonight, but to have Dad in the stands, pretty great.
Yeah, he hasn't been here since I think last year he saw one start. Hadn't seen me since all year. Came out, obviously, for the Father's Day, and you know, it was pretty awesome he was here for this.
All right, well, congratulations, Kyle. Go enjoy it with your teammates. Appreciate it. Guys, he did, by the way, drop 2 curveballs there in the 9th inning, he told me. Back upstairs.
Well, just added to the scouting report, Murph. He's got a curveball to go along with the fastball, the changeup, and the cutter. Kyle Kendrick's reaction, that's only part of the story. After the ground out, how about Maury's reaction as well? He got every piece of that last picture. That's a perfect one for the scrapbook.